did you become a monk? How did you do that?
Okay, yeah. So after Ohio, so the thing was, even though I was doing all of this kind of study and lecture on the side, my actual studies was in music and performing. And so after Ohio, I had like a bunch of cattle call auditions set up where you like go one place, you got 30 directors sitting there, and you see where you land. And so I had a bunch of these set up, but I had this 3-month gap in my schedule. I'm going to cliff notes this, so you let me know if there's pieces you'd love to go back to or not. When I was in college, a friend of mine passed away in a car accident. She was an only child. So I became and still am very close with her parents. Her parents live close to this particular monastery that I ended up at. And her father and I were like, oh, we should go do a meditation retreat together. That might be a nice way of connecting over this, this shared appreciation of meditation. And so that was going to be a weekend. We didn't end up making that. Some scheduling thing came up. But as I was looking at this particular opportunity, they had, hey, come out for 3 months, volunteer, and, we'll teach everything we can in, 3 months. And I thought, I've been a book Buddhist for so long. It'd be really nice to sit on cushion and learn some. So, I had this 3-month gap in my schedule before the cattle call auditions. Perfect. 3 months to live at a monastery. I'll go volunteer and do that. About a month and a half into that, I called off everything else. I was like, nope, I need to follow this particular abbot here, born in Tibet, fled the communist, was captured, escaped, made it all the way here, holding the authentic lineage. I want to pursue this because this opportunity isn't coming twice. So that is when 3 weeks became 11 years.
11 years.
So the other piece of this, which I think was something somebody at the gathering we had where we first met was interested in, was the fact that because I'd been doing all of this research before going off for 11 years, and then coming back and seeing the queer community in a very new light and seeing what had shifted in those 11 years when I was out of the mix, I got a very clear understanding of like, wow, huge developments, short piece of time. Whereas, before I went into the monastery, again, I'm speaking on more of this logical level with people, there's a sense of like, oh, this doesn't actually work. I don't know what does. I'm coming out working with meditation, which, and again, in a contemplative model, right? If we were to break down what I was doing, but what I was missing. So I was really good at the study portion, right? But a full contemplative education is study, contemplation, and then practice, right? And there's not many places within the US that actually work with these deeper levels of learning. And so the opportunity came where it's like, oh, wait a second. Deeper levels of learning might actually work more directly with basic badness. Contemplation does some to start breaking up the ways we think about things. So you can think about study as like, let me take on this, this understanding like I was doing before. Let me listen. Let me understand more about how this actually works in the world. The contemplation is then turning inward with it and going, what does this actually mean in my life? And what does this mean for the ways that I perceive the world? Right. So this is doing a little bit of breaking up that basic badness narrative. Right. It's like how many assumptions were just baked into my education? What happens when I actually look at those assumptions? Right. And then the practice is then to actually sit with all of these different pieces to, this wider understanding of the world that kind of breaks underneath the assumptions of it. And what's actually there? What's actually there when we get past the assumptions? Well, what I was learning when we get past the assumptions is basic goodness. What does this actually look like? This is a vastness of mind. This is clarity of mind. This is compassion is the natural base of our human being. And actually,
you say all those things again, and also I just went like this because I had this idea of what I was going to write about, and then last week I was like, I'm doing something else is speaking to me. I still need to speak to LODRO. Then when you just said that, and I'm like, now I got to go back and write the other one instead. So now I'll probably write two, both of them based on you. sit with this wider understanding of the world. And when I did that, I found
basic goodness.
Basic goodness amongst all people. Is that what you're saying, or
everybody?
As the human nature.
It's human nature, absolutely. And this is right now as a therapist working with the persecuted population, if I don't hold this view, none of the therapy means anything. As I'm sitting with people I'm doing therapy with, I'm listening and beholding their goodness, the vastness of their mind. Like if you go out and you look at the sky and allow your mind to actually take in like how vast and open the sky is, that sky is actually going back and pointing out your nature as it is. It's vast and open, no matter what clouds come through it, no matter what weather comes through it, the vastness is never lost. One of the issues when we're talking about the difference between identity as the door and identity as a cage is when we lose the sky-like mind. Identity as the door is when we're stepping into the sky-like quality of mind. That no matter what names we've been told about ourselves, no matter what, this population of Christians is trying to convince us of, that you're basically bad. There's something fundamentally wrong with you. You're wicked. If you give in to understanding yourself, you're bad. Beyond redemption, you need something outside of yourself to purify you so you can go to heaven. It's bullshit.
Yes.
Absolute bullshit. It loses sky mind. Now let's take those same Christian principles and let's turn, what does it mean by sky mind? It's the fact that what's the wickedness? The wickedness is the fact that I've bought into this small idea of myself and I believe in that more than my truth, right? What does this mean?
What's the wickedness?
I think this is why Nick wanted to record.
I know, and I keep trying. You'll see that I'm trying to actively listen but not speak because I don't want to mess up the recording. But now I'm engaged fully, and I'm well, sorry about the recording. I guess that's why you're a good editor, and he is a good editor. What's the wickedness? What's the wickedness? The wickedness.
Wickedness is when we believe in a small idea of ourselves. When we believe we're something small and we need to make up for who we are, that's when we're going to work from a collapsed place. The collapsed place is where all of this wisdom does not have the freedom to actually engage with things exactly as we are. We're dealing with concepts.
Oh boy, this is good. Can you tell me about some of the pushback or tension you see between specifically gay men, but gay identified people and queer, non-binary, trans-identified people?
So if we're jumping back to the caste model and we're seeing this linear progression of this is the frame that we are allowed to be ourselves in, right? And this is the frame we're going to meet other gay people in, right? Notice all of this. We're still kind of working within a little bit of the cage identity, right? Mm-hmm. It's restricted to this. We only have this room for freedom.
And it's kind of heteronormative, right? Trying to, in your opinion, would you say it's safe to say that it was about assimilating to straight culture, blending into the suburbs, all that?
And you saw this when marriage equality rights were won. All of the funding went out of HRC and all of these programs. The second we got one of the big assimilationist prizes, all of a sudden the wind went out of the sail of liberation work, right? So and it's not that therefore gay people are bad people. It's a lot of this community were the first ones to take the step out of the hetero, frameworks. There were, norms they were breaking. There were ways they're making themselves more and more free than those before them. But the thing is, if you look then at queerness is a continuation of that work. It didn't buy into the assimilationist piece. It was more and more of that move away from identity as a cage to identity as a door. It's why when I'm seeing the queer population now, again, when I'm talking about I was there and then gone for 11 years and back. And, when I came back out of the monastery, being invited over to, different universities to talk about queerness. And I saw the huge difference in where the student populations were and the things they're talking about. If we're thinking in a spectrum between the cage and the door, the queer community was able to take a lot of that work of the gay community and keep going. So in those places where I think the gay, because, when I do talk with some of my elders, some of what I hear them name is just like, well, yeah, if I had heard the trans understanding when I was young, I probably would have done that. Right? It's this like the queer community kept going.